So let's start with the basic definition of lease renewals. What are they, and is it similar to a lease extension?
Yeah, so basically, as everyone knows, most of the leases in Quebec end on June 30th. So March 31st basically marks the deadline of when landlords have to send rent increases or modifications to the leases to the tenants. So, it's pretty normal at this time of year if you're a tenant that you're going to receive most likely some kind of a modification, being in a rent increase or in the conditions of the lease.
Okay, so let's get a little more into then the contents of a lease renewal. What are we looking at, Nick?
So most commonly, what you're going to get is something like, if you would like to renew the lease for the next year, the new rent increase is such. So basically, if you're a tenant, you're most likely going to receive some kind of a letter saying that your rent is probably going to be going up, and you have to respond to that letter within 30 days, which is very important because if you do not respond, it's as if you've basically accepted the increase. So it's very important to make sure to get back to the landlord within 30 days.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so no answer is accepting. Now, what if the tenant refuses?
So when you receive a rent increase, you basically have three different options. Your first options is to accept the rent increase. So you would just say, yeah, okay, that's fine. We're going to stay and accept the new price. The other option is to just totally refuse it and leave. So you can say, I'm not interested in paying this rent, and at the end of the term, you move out. And the other option is you can refuse the increase, but still stay in the apartment.
Hmm. Okay, interesting. Okay, on to the dollars and cents, Nick. How do I know if a rent increase is valid? And as a landlord, I can't just, come up with any number.
Yeah, so basically they set guidelines as to how much the rent increase should go up every year. There's no real fixed amount. There's usually some kind of a recommendation, but usually it goes by how much the property expenses go up. I think this year for an electric heated apartment, the average is about 4%, if I'm not mistaken. And for gas heating or oil heating, it's even lower than that. So they do set some kind of a guideline, but it really depends on how much the taxes have gone up, how much the insurance premiums have gone up, and so on. Now, it's just important to go back a little bit when we said you can refuse a rent increase and still stay in the apartment. You still have to kind of come to terms with the situation, because let's say I'm the landlord and I ask for a rent increase and you refuse it, but you still want to stay in the apartment. We have to come to a conclusion. So it's either we're gonna make some kind of an understanding between us, or we're gonna have to basically ask for the tribunal to step in and set the increase. Now, what's important is that if the tribunal does decide to accept the rent increase, then you cannot leave the apartment. So you still have to go out with your term. So those would be the options.
Ah, okay. So if the tribunal basically sides with the landlord and agrees to the rent increase, you can't then say, well, I'm going to leave because you've already
Correct.
agreed to stay. Okay, good. And you talked about some of the things that affect rent increases. What if, for example, the landlord needs to fix a leaky roof or something like that?
Right. So aside from the taxes and the insurance premiums and the maintenance expenses and all that, a landlord can also amortize renovations um, in a rent increase. Now, there is a specific calculation that has to be done when doing that, but yes, absolutely. If you're doing major renovations to the building, as a landlord, you can put up the rent a certain percentage. There's a formula for that.
Okay. And speaking of formulas, where can people go, Nick, if they need information or if they need help?
I would say probably the best place to go is the Régie du Logement. I guess there would be a lot of information online where you can get a lot of accurate things. If not, you could just call me.
I love it. Exactly. Call Nicholas Marcoux. Hey, Nick, thank you for helping us navigate lease renewals this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.